screen. To get out.
Is this what this one? Okay. We have the pointer.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. We're so glad that you all are here today and came out on this beautiful February first day of February, yay! And it's sunny outside and the snow has mostly melted with the lovely rain we had. We also have people online, so we're recording this presentation so that people who could not make it here this morning will be able to view it at a later time. And we're super excited that we're gonna be doing some presentations for you. Let's see. There we go. Whoops. So first, we're going to start off with introducing our new staff. And then we're going to do some IMA statistics and reminders and updates for you. We'll have a little trivia break. With the trivia break, you get a prize. So you'll pull out your phone at the time and use a QR code to access the trivia. Then we'll have a brief presentation about our bamboo prioritization. John Burke is here to do that with me, and we'll introduce you to how we're managing bamboo now on the parkland. Then we'll have another trivia break, and Maddie Bright with the Earth Sangha will be presenting about native planting advice and other ideas. We'll share some really cool pictures and then have an opportunity to have questions and discussion about IMA, any concerns, any things that might be really helpful for others to learn about with working with the IMA program. So Anastasia, it's welcome. Yes. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anastasia Mejia. I am the new IMA volunteer coordinator. I have met with some of you, and I'm excited to meet the rest of you and the people who could not be here as well. So yeah, just give a brief background about me. So my background is in conservation and restoration. I kind of started out doing internships with National Park Service, kind of focusing more on the recreation side of it. And just, out in the field doing the actual invasive management. A lot of it was manual. So I'm very familiar about getting in the dirt, pulling things out, digging them out, cutting them down. I love that sort of stuff. So I was very excited to, join IMA and, kind of do that a little. I've been to some of those sites with some of you and kind of done a little bit of that. And hopefully in the future, if time allows, I can help some more of you guys out with that. What else? I also, in my free time, like to garden, of course. I love being outdoors, being in the dirt, taking hikes, things like that. And I do think I'm a little creative-ish. I do like to paint and do like other art forms in my free time, just to kind of keep myself busy, I guess, when I'm not running around with my 2-year-old. And yeah, so that's me. I'm excited to, continue working with you guys in IMA and see what this year has to offer. So that is me. Thank you. Oh, and next, also introduce Chohi. She's also new with the IMA program. So.
Hi, good morning. My name is Joanna, but all people know me as Joey. It's easier in short. I'm ecologist one bamboo contractor, but I'm from Ecuador, so I speak Spanish, and actually I'm a biologist. And in the beginning, I wanted to study something related to the water and ocean, but life is always guiding us to something new path or something. So I just ended in studying plants in Ecuador. So I was focused in natural ecosystems, plant insect interactions in the tropical rainforest in Ecuador. Have you ever heard about the Amazon jungle? I worked there most of the whole student life in different projects. So I'm really used to go outdoors and be in the jungle, in the forest. I really enjoy to be outside. If me, it's not like being staying for walls for 3 years, but I really like to go out, hike see new things, study new things. So that's why I study, it actually, you see this is my country, and the right side is the jungle. The Amazon jungle is really biodiverse, and I love it. And I never expected to be here in America, but like 7 years ago, part of the project was together with the University of Utah. So I was able to go to the laboratory of Coley and Cursor. They are two really good scientists that study the evolution of plants and the chemicals and how the plant defenses against the herbivores. So when I was there in Salt Lake City, I learned a lot of like methods about laboratory assessments and things like that to study what I wanted to do, right? The chemical compounds in plants. And yeah, it was really good experience. And when I heard about this position about bamboo, and I really wanted to learn now from Virginia. And I was so happy that now I'm in this path, and I want to give the best from me with you guys. Thank you.
Hi, I think most of you know me. I'm Gloria, the program manager. I was previously the volunteer coordinator, so I worked with most of you for many years already. Oops. So these are the stats that you all completed last year. And in the top corner, you can see the stats from 2023 to compare. But we had 1,108 work days, 4,916 volunteers, including the site leaders, the corporate groups, the scout groups, and all your casual volunteers for your regular work days. That was 17,000 volunteer hours that you guys put in, 4,611 bags, which you can see is about almost 500 or so bags more than last year, but also the number of dumpsters reduced greatly. And then over 2,000 native plants were installed in all the parks. So a big round of applause to you guys because you did all this work. Oh, it's blurry, but this is the graph showing all the number of volunteers and volunteer hours since we started in 2006. So it's big jump since 2020. Looking really good. It's not showing on Teams. Oh no. Okay. All right, we will. All right, we'll just
Back up to that.
yeah, we'll just go over to the beginning so you guys can see the presentation. Okay, good. So that was the itinerary for today. Anastasia's introduction, Joey's introduction, and she's working with Patricia on the bamboo management in the parks, and she'll go into that next. And then these were the stats that we just went over. And we will share the recording with you guys afterwards, so you'll have this. And then just briefly some updates for you guys. I know we've been talking well as you were arriving, but we have started adding new site leaders again. So we're working through our wait list and first adding site leader partners. So volunteers will be working with existing site leaders so you guys can work together, teach them what you know, work together on your work days and support each other. We've added 3 new site leaders and 2 of them are here, I think. Oh, thank you. So yeah, so we have, if you guys want to stand up and say hi, we have Dorothy and Kristen. And then we also had John Wilson, who is not here today. Maybe he's online. And the sites were Fred Crabtree Park, Greenway Heights, and Paul Springs Dream Valley Park. Okay. And then we also will be soon starting herbicide use with volunteers. So we'll be having site leaders that are interested trained to use buckthorn blasters. And we have 2 on the table if you guys want to grab it and pass it around. but they're going to be used for custom treatments on woody plants. And you can see in the picture is a sample or like an example of what it will look like. That was a large bush honeysuckle plant where you just cut it close to the ground, and then you use that bottle, take the screw cap off, and apply the sponge tip to the perimeter of the stump. If it's a large one like that, you don't have to treat the center because that's not transporting any nutrients or chemicals to the roots. You just have to get the perimeter of it. And so we'll be having 2 online training sessions. The first one is this Thursday, I think at 7 p.m. And we'll send out an email with the link and more information. And then the next day will be on Tuesday. It's the same presentation. So if you can't make it to one, you can make it to the other one. And if you can't make it to either one, we'll plan a third day. Yeah.
Is that the only kind of herbicide treatment you're going to train us for?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can hear online, but the question was, is this the only kind of herbicide application we'll be using? And to start, yes, we're just going to use buckthorn blasters to treat custom treatments on woody plants, just because it's the safest method. So there's no risk really of spill unless you step on the bottle. There's no drift risk, so it's the safest way. So we're just going to try that first to see how it goes, and then maybe explore other options later. So you see the 2 dates actually up on the presentation, and then those are for online trainings, and then we'll also schedule in-person ones at the park so that you guys can get some hand-on experience before you actually set out on your own. And you will be responsible for recording your herbicide use online, which is going to be exactly the same way as reporting your volunteer hours, but you will have to do that also. In the past 2 years, I think we talked about eventually getting high school interns started with us in the summer, working with site leaders. And last summer we were able to get 1, and then this year we're hoping to get 2, and then just keep that going every summer, in addition to our college interns. We were awarded through PRISM VDOF grant to apply herbicide and treat more EDR species this year. So we'll be doing that in the spring, or coming up now, winter into spring. So that's really good news. And then just the usual reminders, please log your hours, volunteer hours, herbicide use when we start that is really important, by the 5th of every month. If you don't have work days and you don't need tools, please return them, or have us or reach out to us so that we can come pick them up and redistribute them to someone that does need them. And then when you have your work days with volunteers, please make sure you have a safety talk before with them. Let them know if there's poison ivy in the area, any hornet nests that they should avoid, safety tools, so that they know they shouldn't be wielding any tools unwildly. Make sure there aren't other volunteers around them when they're pulling out plants so that they're not getting hit with them. And then remind them to do a tick check afterwards. Any questions?
When it comes to logging in hours for volunteers, do you count yourself or not? Because there's different opinions about that.
So the question was, if you're logging your hours, do you count yourself as a site leader? There's 2 sections where you enter hours. One is the site hours. That's your site leader hours. That's the only time you count yourself. And then the volunteer hours are your casual volunteers. So anyone that comes to help you at your workday that is not a site leader.
When you have a
As the site hours. Yeah, that's it. Yep. John.
When you all are, if you're interested in helping with the herbicide application component when it comes to these trainings, start to think about the types of environments that you would be potentially doing this in, what your site looks like. There may be additional reporting requirements if you're interested in doing this work in semi-aquatic environments, which we could work with you on that, but that in particular, you have water needs or something like that you'd be looking to do this work in, or even like emergent vegetation or near aquatic environments. Just keep that in mind when you think about your site. Think about where the problem areas are that you won't be willing to do woody controls, and if it falls in one of those categories, let's talk about it at the trainings or afterwards, because while we have our own reporting requirements, there are other requirements that are for the state that apply to the whole county regarding aquatic treatments. So you might just need to be aware of it. Just throwing that out there. So I don't forget, and also so you all can look at it.
And we'll go into all that more in detail during the presentations and in-person training. So yes.
2 questions. I The first one is related to the herbicide. Is it anticipated, I'm trying to decide whether to go to the training or not. I'm sure you'll cover it there, but is it only for things that you cut all the way down, or will if the girding, if you heard a channel around the phone, will that also be permissible?
That's a good question. I don't think we talked about that.
I'm sorry.
Applying herbicide when you're girdling trees.
With a buckthorn plaster, it's a sponge fit bottle, and so you can technically, if you're doing a girdle, you can dab enough into that cut that it's almost the same as doing a cut stump where you would just, push the herbicide into that cut as you go all the way around.
Because I've got a lot of things that are of a size that would take us forever to get the whole thing down.
Right.
Tree down, but second question, in terms, I saw you have bags and dumpsters, and I'm sort of at sea when it comes to where we are with whether we're supposed to be putting things in bags and dumpsters. For a while there was instruction, don't do it because we didn't have the backup to pick them up. So
Right.
what's the current policy?
I haven't, the question was about bagging, if you're allowed to bag, because we didn't have enough support at one point for them to be picked up. But I think park operations is staffed up and they haven't reported any backups with bags. So you should be able to put all your debris in bags and set them aside for pickup. Dumpsters, we might have to cut back even more because they have turned out to be pretty expensive now. Yes.
Better to leave biomass.
If it's not right, if it's not going to re-root into the ground, you can leave it, but you also don't want to leave massive piles in the parks, especially if they're visible and people are going to report them.
And some of the plant material, some of the invasive plant material can be allelopathic,
Mm.
so as it degrades, it could make it harder for other plants to grow in that space. And we do like a support in certain areas, like a die and dry pile, where you leave it, it's not inside of a trail, it's not behind somebody's home, that sort of thing, so it's not an eyesore. But you go back and periodically check it, make sure that the plant that you cut and piled isn't rooting, and you can turn it if you need it. And that sort of thing, that can be almost like you're mulching it down once it's dry and it can be used to start, but there's some plants I've heard, and we know Tree of Heaven is one of those that have allelopathy. There could be that double file viburnum, if you know that one, that could have allelopathy. We don't know all of them, but some of them could.
Just to go back to girdling trees, if you're doing that, make sure it's not near a trail. It's not eventually in a few years going to fall and land on a trail or a lawn or anywhere that people might be walking.
Yeah, I think we'll probably find another specific.
Yeah.
Because we made that mistake. We sent contractors out to girdle or to do basal park applications of Laurel Hill, targets on trails and stuff. So oops. So we would want to make sure that wouldn't be like a widespread issue.
There are no more questions right now. We will move on. All right. These are some special dates to keep in mind if you want to post work days for these and get a lot of volunteers. We have Invasive Species Week Awareness Week coming up this month, and we'll do the same post, maybe change the species out for the Plant This Not That series. Earth Day is April 22nd. I'm not sure if these fall on Saturdays or Sundays, but yeah. So you can plan the work day whichever day you prefer. If it is a weekend, it'll probably be really, really busy. The iNaturalist City Nature Challenge is in April. If you guys want to encourage your volunteers or participate yourselves in recording as many different or new species at your sites with iNaturalist. And June 7th is National Trails Day. And again, in September is the National Public Lands Day, which the county is really promoting for volunteer work. I think that is it.
So there are 2 questions that came up on the chat. We could, depending on the timing, I don't know what the schedule is, we can wait for the end when we have that question answer period at the end.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll pull these.
First trivia. Get your phones ready if you want to participate. Don't forget there are awards. Thanks. All right, so you can enter the link or scan the QR code. And let me know when you guys are ready and we'll get started. Staff don't get awards, just so you know. All right, yeah. Okay. Does anyone need help? No, ma'am.
Mine says waiting for host to start.
Yes, yeah, so once I think enough people have gotten through, we'll start it. It hasn't started yet.
Push.
Just waiting for two more, I think. Okay, let's start. Yep.
Tracy, I'm going up.
It doesn't count, it's okay.
Just setting the stage.
Oh, maybe
Beautiful, right?
you good?
That's the problem.
Is anyone still answering questions? Okay.
You need to have Patricia.
He's just setting the standard.
Yeah.
Thank you. I gotta check it out.
Okay. All right, I'll give you guys a few more.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't seen you in 3 years. It's like sleepless. I'm going the other direction. I thought it was over here. I'm totally going after this.
All right, is everyone ready? Okay, I think we're gonna end it here. Yeah, okay. All right, so we have our top 4. I'm sorry, Patricia. All right, Margaret Fisher, number 1. So Anastasia will pass out the gifts or awards. Who is Natsui? Oh, raise your hands if you're in the room. Natsui, Devil, Claire, and Anna. Oh, who's Anna? Is Anna online?
Oh, that's, you don't have the thoughts.
Oh, you don't count either. Sorry. Next, John. Nope. Sarah. Sarah Mayhew, I think, is online. All right, so we'll save it for you, Sarah. All right, great. Thank you for participating. All right, back to business. All right, Patricia, you're up next. And John Burke.
Okay, all right. Is there a clicker? I'll just use the thing. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you all again so much for everything that you're doing for Park Authority and for the natural environment here in Fairfax County. So really appreciate it. I know I don't get the chance to see you all that often. I always try to make these events, and just to let you know, if you ever need to ask questions about, the broader natural resources program or funding or staffing or support for IMA or just whatever, always feel free to reach out to me. My name is John Burke. I'm the branch manager of natural resources. So john.burke2@fairfaxcounty.gov, unless you would like to reach out to the retired fire chief, then you can do that. But yeah, thank you again so much. So Patricia and I presented to the Innovations in Invasive Plant Management Conference in December about the ongoing bamboo management program within Fairfax County. So this is that presentation. We'll be doing a little bit less formally than we did at that presentation. So if you have questions, you can interrupt me or just raise your hand and I'll call on you. But basically, I think you all already know about Fairfax County, but just a reminder, established in 1950, we have 25,000 acres of land. We're the biggest landowner in the county. And we have authority to make decisions over land management, site operations, revenue, and invasive plant management. So we do a lot here in Park Authority beyond just the contributions that you all make. We have many other volunteers within the agency. We have a lot of different initiatives beyond even natural resource management. So if you're in the field with me, you often hear me talking about the dual mission of Park Authority, both as restoration, conservation, but also we are a revenue generating entity through things like golf and rec centers. And while golf courses, we may have different viewpoints on how that land is being managed. If it wasn't for golf courses and rec centers and pools and summer programming and camps, we wouldn't have funding for the non-revenue generating activities like natural resource management. So it is a balance, but we have a great team within natural resources and we partner closely with the other active departments here in Park Authority to make sure that when we are making improvements to parks, whether it's through golf courses, development, whatever, we're doing so responsibly. So here are the numbers when it comes to what we actually manage. Of course, this isn't all natural resources, but you can see that we've got a lot going on parkland. Again, this is really aimed for the folks who've never been on parkland before, don't know where Fairfax County is, don't really know what we're about. You all do, so kind of breeze through it. This may be new for some of you, although I think we've probably covered it in previous discussions, but on January 1st, 2023, the BOS did approve an ordinance on running bamboo. So as you can see here, it basically requires landowners who have a bamboo that is encroaching off their property and there's a complaint filed against them from a neighboring property to control that bamboo or manage that bamboo. So that could either be through, lethal means by killing the plant itself. It's also permissible to create like physical barriers between the encroaching property and the neighboring property. Park Authority's approach is that we will, at least for the time being, be using lethal control measures on bamboo when we get complaints, because Park Authority is the biggest landowner in the county. We have the most bamboo. These are the fines associated with it. This is being enforced by our basically our code compliance agency within Fairfax County. So they're not within Park Authority. They're part of the larger Fairfax County government. And they'll only really be enforcing it if there are complaints that have been filed and issued to them. And if the person whose land is being encroached upon by the bamboo is not being responsive to the issue, right? So essentially, if they're not taking action to mow it, cut it, kill it, or install some sort of barrier, then over time, if things continue with the complaints and there's continued non-action by the person whose bamboo is encroaching, then these fines may come into play. I can't talk really from an informed perspective about code compliance's aggressiveness in pursuing these fines. My impression is that they're really trying to work as a supportive agency to try and strike a balance between the neighboring homeowners or landowners to try and help them work through the problem as opposed to being more punitive in nature. Yes.
Is the Park Authority subject to the ordinance and fines?
We are certainly subject to the ordinance. Now the fines, again, I don't know if anyone has been fined to date as part of this ordinance. And again, we are working closely with code compliance to provide a list of our project sites and helping them understand the steps that we're taking to solve the problem. Because as I'll share on an upcoming slide, it's a pretty broad issue. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So those are the the types of situations that we are actively managing. However, we have 250 acres of known bamboo on park property, and it's probably a larger number than that now. Yeah. So Patricia Greenberg is the program manager for that effort, and we're currently receiving $400,000 a year just to go after bamboo from the BOS. So yeah, it's a big problem, and we haven't been fined yet from code compliance, but code compliance does, inform us when there's been a complaint or we receive a complaint directly from the neighboring property owners and we log it. Yeah, and that's the whole reason for the program is because we are also accountable for managing when there's bamboo on park property encroaching on a neighboring property. Mhm.
To remove it and even at any expense, can they just work with you to determine what is the best solution in that particular instance? I mean, I don't want to, so it's my property.
I'm speaking for a friend.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to use pesticides, cut it down, whatever, but it is on your property. So I've touched it, but as it encroaches on mine, I cut it down. And then I can't use pesticides because it's near a riparian area. So what I would like you to tell me is what exactly I can do to remove it. And I will pay for it to be removed if you would allow, or I will do the work or whatever. So if you're willing, I'm willing. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm sure there are other instances in our neighborhood, which where people's properties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's work together.
So this applies not just to your site, but to anyone who might be dealing with this on your personal property. Report it, I would say, so that we have it in our, because we'll talk about our prioritization protocol and how we're like chipping away at the problem. But unless we know it's there and it's encroaching, we're not going to go after it because there is a lot of bamboo on parkland that is isolated and not pushing against or into private property. And our priorities are going to be where there are complaints filed because obviously the fines associated with it, but also because it's impacting a resident, that's going to be the top of the list. So report it. Doesn't look bad for us. We were aware of the scale of the problem, and I've talked to the Board of Supervisors about it. They know that it's a big problem and it's going to take a long time to solve it. So go ahead and report it. As far as working off your property, bamboo is not currently like a volunteer type of activity as far as management is concerned because it requires it to be cut in this time of year. And then during the growing season, relatively high concentrations of herbicides are used on it. And it requires 3 to 5 years, potentially more of continued management. It can also, there are some hazards associated with it. So whatever you can do on your property to keep it suppressed, that's all that we can ask right now. But the way the management usually works is it requires, coarse cutting of the shoots this time of year, and then it's just going to be 3 to 5 years. So we have a budget that pretty much outlines that forecast, and that's why it's so expensive because it's if you've tried to manage it before, it's a very difficult plant to manage.
VDOT right of ways. Sorry, what slide?
Forward here. There you go.
For instance, on Columbia Pike, there's bamboo coming from people's private
Oh.
property, but onto the right of way.
Yeah.
Bamboo falls into the street.
Right. Okay.
Is VDOT going after those property?
I can't speak for VDOT.
Yeah.
So there would have to be a file, or a complaint filed, again, from the neighbor. So in case, if you've got it coming into your property from a VDOT right of way, you'd have to file
Well,
a
the
complaint.
property owner has the bamboo that goes into the
Oh.
right of way and then.
No,
falls
yeah.
into the street.
Yeah, but it's.
VDOT's not gonna go after it.
That's right.
So it would be, so public right of way, I think it's more than just VDOT, there's other ones as well. So we've got right of ways for Fairfax County sewer, water, electric, gas, those all exist. Yeah, it's important to file it. But the public right of ways are probably not going to be the ones who are reporting it, right? So Park Authority, we're not going to be reporting encroachments of bamboo. We're going to be responding to complaints. It's a citizen or resident initiated response, if you will. So like residents complain to code compliance. Code compliance informs Park Authority. Sometimes residents inform Park Authority directly, and we respond to those complaints. For public right of ways, those agencies may or may not have management programs for dealing with bamboo. I know that that the Board of Supervisors owned property has recently gotten some funding to manage it on their lands. It just remains to be seen if state agencies are going to be responding. It's a local ordinance. It's not a state ordinance. So that's kind of getting out of my wheelhouse as far as how that's going to be enforced by code compliance.
And can we
Oh,
hold
sorry.
the conversation, we'll have a nice chunk of time at the end of the
Okay.
presentations to do the conversations. I know this is a really interesting topic. It's brand new sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we have time for the other speaker today.
Fair. Yeah, and I'm gonna answer some of your questions as we go through. So just for some info on running bamboo, again, I think you all are probably familiar with it. It is generally in the genus Phyllostachys, and it's characterized by quickly spreading its rhizomes. Where there's also clumping bamboo species, which are more like contained. But generally speaking, the problematic bamboo that we're seeing on parkland or that might be encroaching into your properties is going to be a running bamboo species. So I've talked a lot about this, but we've done outreach already. We've engaged with the county. Some mailers have gone out. There's educational videos online as well. It's probably more geared towards folks who don't have experience dealing with invasive plants. The type of questions that you might have may not be answered because you all are already familiar with what we're doing broadly within the county with invasive plant management, or even what an invasive plant is. This is the relative breakdown of ownership of bamboo as mapped on public land in Fairfax County. So if you can't read what that says on the bottom, I'm guessing you can figure out who the green is on that chart. So that's parkland. This is the ownership of public lands, but it's also reflective of how much bamboo we have on our property. We have about 250 acres that are currently mapped, or I say currently, we're mapped like 2 years ago. That's where we're at. So it may be even more now. And we're working actively to provide more accurate maps, respond to citizen complaints, to map where those encroachments are happening, and then respond. As I mentioned, Patricia is spearheading the program, and we have $400,000 a year just for killing bamboo. So that's what we're doing. We're mapping it and going after it. We have a pretty rigorous prioritization process for site selection for how we're determining which bamboo patches we're going after first. So it's going to be a long-term battle. I was asked to give a number to the Board of Supervisors about how much money it was going to take to kill all this bamboo. I was very hesitant to do that because, as you know, managing invasive species requires a lot of flexibility. Things happen that you don't expect. They respond in ways you may not be predicting, and sometimes the efficacy of a given treatment may not be as good as we were hoping. But we estimate very conservatively $9.25 million to handle all the bamboo as currently managed. Again, I was forced to give a number. I take it with a huge grain of salt. So where do we begin? We are developing a prioritization protocol, or we have developed a prioritization protocol prior to that funding being announced so that we could sell to the BOS and to Park Authority and to volunteers and complainants how we were going to be tackling bamboo. It's a prioritization structure that's being modified and improved and adapted over time as we take on new projects and get a better understanding of the challenges in the field. But it takes takes into account a lot of different categories, including the ecological system that we're working in, any potential access issues or logistics for getting to that bamboo and removing it, things like if it's in an RPA or a stream, if it's in a high vulnerability district within the county, and a bunch of other stuff that Patricia is going to talk about when we get to that section. But we've tried everything into a scoring structure that will make it as bulletproof as possible when we're trying to select where we're going to go, so that we're not just responding to the loudest voice in the room, but we've actually got like a regimented means of approaching the problem, because we're taking small bites each year out of a very big pie, if you will. So, and then they are scored out of a total of 100 points. So, Patricia, would you like to take over?
Okay, yes. So as John was saying, these projects, each site is going to be assessed. So Joy and I are out there, we're mapping each patch of bamboo using our GIS. So we've completely delineated where the bamboo is in existence. So we have an acreage. We then use this information based on what John and I put together and working through to assess it. So some of the factors that we're looking at include whether the Board of Supervisors or the Park Authority board members have indicated to us that this is a priority site. So that's one sort of political little piece of the puzzle that we have to add into this prioritization protocol. As well, we're looking at our homeowners actively removing it from their property and cutting it down, actively getting it out of their property and managing it. And have they called us to let us know, it's another, yes. Try again. Okay. All right, we'll give it a go. All right. So another factor that we're considering, and so these are rated too. Each of these categories that I'm listing here for you are given a number. Is it a yes or no answer? Are they yes, removing it from the property? No, they're not removing it from the property. Each of those gets a number, so they're tallied all together. The other thing we're considering is it in a high vulnerability index area. We're using Fairfax County's PARE, it's called. It's a racial equity index that we're looking at based on a layer that's been collected from multiple factors throughout Fairfax County. And so that gives it a number as well. Oops. Here's a great photo of a partnership we had with Department of Public Works and Environmental Services staff and our area manager, our area crew to take down this massive bamboo patch that was encroaching on a USGS survey facility or station for water levels or water quality within the stream, both. So, and I think it's going to take a lot of partnerships to manage this bamboo in the end with the way things are rolling. But so other things we're considering for prioritizing these sites is a site has sufficient access for equipment or for staff, right? So can equipment or staff get to this site? Is there an asphalt trail nearby? Is there a natural surface trail? Is there a road or parking lot, easily to make it so that the people who need to go in to cut and treat the bamboo, is it easy enough for them to get in there? Is there an area where we can stage a dumpster so that the stuff can be hauled out if it needs to be hauled out? Does it intersect a rare or sensitive habitat? So with our non-native invasive assessment protocol, we're looking at areas, we've already assessed areas for their quality of forest, right? So is it near a sensitive area? So that would definitely prioritize, put that up on the priorities list to try to get there sooner than later to protect that health of the forest. John mentioned, does it intersect RPA? So that kind of changes it too, because we want to be more careful. We need to be more careful by law to protect areas that are near streams or in stream valleys. Is it stabilizing a stream? Sometimes the bamboos go right up to the stream bank and their roots are so sturdy and strong. They're actually holding up that stream bank. And so I'm getting in there, looking along the stream bank. Are there also mature trees? Are the mature trees holding up that stream bank? So then I would feel more comfortable saying, okay, yes, we can go ahead. It's not the only thing holding up the stream bank. So sometimes it takes perspective as the person who's doing the assessment out there. our patch is really small, so it makes it really easy to get in and get out. Also, if there's a chance for land disturbance, that's also part of a policy in the county with land disturbance. So we're considering the size of the patch because of that. The size of the bamboo, the thickness of the stem, the height of the stem, all these things are all part of it. The density of the stem. Some of it can grow very sparsely, 1 to 2 feet apart each culm, or are they densely packed? You can't even walk through that patch. How high are they, right? We have this is arrow bamboo. There's all these different species. Keep doing that. Are they intersecting an IMA site, right? Are they intersecting or helping our land heal project? So these are sites, are they in sites where we have staff that are managing the parkland? So is there a facility nearby? Is it going to be impacting a tennis court or even an asphalt trail? That stuff will go right underneath an asphalt trail and fall over an asphalt trail. So it causes more maintenance issues for staff at these sites. And this is a photo of our prescribed burn program that is run by our Helping Our Land Heal program. Pretty awesome stuff. So just to give a brief example of things we're sort of considering and grappling over as we're going and assessing these sites and putting them into our prioritization. We have this one site over at Pohick Estates, which is out in Lorton, that has, a typical size bamboo. I mean, not too big. The stems are pretty medium sized, and it is encroaching on a HOA, and the HOA is actively removing it from their property. They don't want it going into the townhomes that are there. And that got great 60 points because there's also a facility. It's a managed park. There's a field that's being mowed. There's a tennis court not too far away. Then there's a really great parking lot right near it, easy to get to. All these great factors and makes it gives that site 60 points. And then there's this other site in West Springfield Village that I went to. I had to knock on a door so that I could walk through their property to get to this hillside behind homes. And it's a really short bamboo, but it's a massive amount of it that's been growing who knows how long, goes down to a stream. And then what I noticed though is that the quality of the forest back in that area, when you get beyond the bamboo, is actually pretty decent. Pretty high quality forest. This Pohick Estates there's no high quality forest. It was like Tree of Heaven and other invasives in there. And so, but West Springfield Village only got 15 points because it's really hard to access. It is, you have to knock on somebody's door, and it's just a really large piece of, patch of bamboo there. So these are the sorts of things where it's like, well, actually, but it could be pretty easy to get to as long as this homeowner is agreeable to letting a crew go in, through their property. They're not cutting and removing it. You're just spraying this really low growing bamboo. So there's these things where it's like, this could have been, and we also want to protect this natural area. So how are we going to shift these things around to consider all these factors? These are the questions that are running through my mind as I'm going through these things and trying to figure out the best way to manage all these bamboo sites. So the next steps is, providing ongoing dialogue with landowners. We're receiving emails, requests. Hey, when are you going to come? How long is it going to take? All these things are happening. Hiring our contractors and mapping our site. So we hired Joy to help me with getting out to all these almost 200 patches of bamboo throughout the county and collecting the data and assessing it. We're working with our GIS team to create this workflow on GIS that when we are out there, we're entering in the points and so that everything gets tallied and we get an immediate answer as to where it lies in the prioritization. And we're going ahead and doing the work. Like in Gil McCutcheon Park, this was one of our biggest sites. This is our biggest sites of bamboo. Alexandria, I like to call our old growth invasives. And there's a really massive patch of bamboo. This is sort of like our first go at trying to get rid of it at a site, and gave us sort of our numbers. How long does it take? How much, effort does it take? The dumpsters and working with an area crew to get a bobcat and removing it and all those sorts of things. And so then that's going to help us with, that started to help us with refining this process. And so we are also very open to input and how to move forward. So thank you very much. Can we hold questions?
Yeah, can we hold questions till the end?
Just write it down, don't
Yeah.
forget. We really want to hear.
Okay, second trivia, we'll go through this one quickly. We only have 2 gifts left, so. But this one is a little harder, so we'll give it to the top 2. All right. Here. For number one. Yes. Yeah, sure. You want it? You want it? No. This is really or I guess no one can choose. You can choose.
Was asking about Brittany.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're meeting. Yeah.
Been successful.
Is that what you include in the
I have to like squeeze it. Yeah.
It's
not super accurate.
but right now we're not giving sprayers just
Yeah.
these on the side, chainsaws and we do that. We'll do it with and come out and do the sprayer, but
Yeah, I think that's everyone.
thanks.
All right, we're getting started with the quiz. You can throw it in then before introducing you. Unsafe name. I don't know.
That's another.
It's like the big few. That's a cute.
Safe me.
Is that you?
We want a mulligan.
Oh, they're having issues. Oh. I wish it tells you how many people.
It's not completed.
Mhm. This one's tough. Right after this.
I think it's really clean.
You can put like if we flip to the picture. Yeah, just here's a picture of this park. Here's the question mark. There's.
If there's a lot of questions, I can't. My husband's was watching baby. So for some few, we do the questions on for 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, she has to be sooner than I do. So just so you know, because I still want to like clean up.
I mean, it's not a lot to clean up, so I can do that. Yeah, it's just a.
I'm kicking you.
How are you guys?
Oh, you can take off. I'm safe name.
Is that you?
I put Phil in basic.
Oh, and it's
Yeah.
oh, so Anastasia's unsafe name. Because she put kill invasives. John Burke. One person couldn't do it. All right. She couldn't see the photos. One person couldn't see the photos. Oh, really? All right, so we have first place is Nick. Oh. So you get to choose. Do you want a hat or cards? She has the hat. All right, second place is Claire.
Or did you want, did you want?
I like fucking hat.
All right.
Would you like?
Yeah.
Third place is Terry. So we have lunch bags left. And then Peter. And JJ. Who's JJ? JJ? Did Peter get a lunch bag? Did Peter want a lunch bag? You got 4. Oh, share. All right, JJ doesn't count, so Brian, you're next.
All right.
All right, great. All right, that's the last trivia. All right, so next we have Maddie talking about Earth Sanga's funding and how they're gonna. Oh, really? Yeah, I can share it at the end. Yeah. Or I can, yeah. Let's do that at the end. All right, Maddie, you're up next.
Cool. All right, thanks everyone. This will be quick. This is like 99% advertising pitch. So I didn't want to bury the lead. We have funding to donate trees and shrubs to IMA sites. It comes courtesy of UCFD, so the Urban and Community Forestry Department at DPWES, formerly the Urban Forestry Management Division. They changed their name and they haven't really done a lot to announce it. So now they're that. We have some TPPF funding from them to supply trees to you guys. So we'll kind of go through, but just bragging a little bit, this is a site in Arlington that was, or is, I should say, a bitternut hickory, Carya cordiformis. When that went in the ground at that site, it was maybe like 10 inches tall. And only like 3 years later, it looks like that. So that's impressive. We have more Carya cordiformis if people want it. We also have that funding also allows us to supply deer caging. So what we're giving folks is all metal. So, you know, we're trying not to get more plastics into the environment and stuff like that. You have your choice. We can do 4-foot welded wire fencing or 6-foot welded wire fencing. We have used both at sites at Marie Butler Levin and Mason District and things like that. They hold up. So, I mean, we have fencing that's about a decade old at Marie Butler Levin, still doing its job, protecting tree seedlings and stuff like that. You know, we have a lot of deer browse at that park. I don't think that necessarily every IMA site needs to have 10-year-old cages out there, but you can pull those things back up and reuse them if need be. You can do this kind of as larger deer exposures. I've talked with that with Gloria and things like that. So as long as the IMA folks are okay with how you're putting that stuff up, you know, we're happy to have it ready for you. We won't cut it because that way it can fit in your car. Just a heads up, if you want 100 feet of 6-foot tall fencing, that roll weighs 135 pounds. So bring help. I can just barely move one of those on my own. It's a lot of work. This kind of, what I just said, but you can see this area here where one of our volunteers, Ling Lei, who's a very active member, you can't fully make out in this photo the extent of it, but those are all the plants that we managed to get planted in there. So you can see you can protect up a whole lot of material by caging kind of in a group. We have bare root there of white ash. This is a planting at Mason District Park where that last white ash that was right on the backside of Mason District Park, the kind of south end of it, that finally died, but these were progeny from that tree. So we've been trying to get those back in. It's also protecting a lot of things that were already there. So there's some blueberry that are just out of frame that we managed to get into that cage. So hopefully we get a little bit more of those growing up and setting seed and things like that. And this little guy there on the right is a dogwood. It's about 2 years old or so. Again, that went in small. You know, we're talking maybe 6 inches or so. Now it's pushing 4 feet after just a few years. You know, and that's really exciting. That site did get kind of swamped back over with invasives, and we cleared it back out. Had some decent survival there. We try and keep our inventory up to date. Right now, it's showing what we had in the fall. We'll be updating as we get into later into February. But I just wanted to point out, if you have good sites for river birch, please, please, please let us know. We have so much river birch. I mean, like literally more than 1,000 of them, and we have thousands more that we need to pot up. So if folks want a lot of river birch, we can do that. We are growing out some more common species like Acer rubrum and things like that. We'll have them available in the fall. I know that that's a super common tree, especially, you know, in a lot of our urban forests and things like that. But we wanted to have that option, you know, especially if stands don't have something like that, something that is insect pollinated and blooms really early could be nice. We are happy to help with advice. So shoot us an email. We'll do our best to keep everyone in the Park Authority kind of looped in on that. I think black cherry is great, and it grows really quick. So that's another good option in there. We can also go to site visits, and I put Michael Ann, her email address here. You can also email me, but if you would like a response, email Michael Ann. I will do my best, but my email inbox is a dumpster fire. And again, please keep Gloria and Anastasia in the loop here. We do have a spreadsheet, so we're tracking all the work we do, all the plants that are going out. They have access to it, so we'll catch it that way. But we want to make sure that everyone kind of knows where these things are going, the sites where we're trying to visit. And just a little plug, you know, maybe not right now because the soil is so wet, but as it begins to warm up, we've done dormant tree and shrub planting with Natural Resources before. We've done some with Darko. It looks like we might be gearing up to do some more with Darko here at Green Spring, so that could be really exciting. But don't miss out on an opportunity to get this stuff in early. We're at the nursery regularly, cleaning stuff up, getting things ready. It's really no problem for us to pull it out even before we officially open in mid-March. You know, we're very happy to have those go out. Anything that frees up space at the nursery is a big help to us because we have such an inventory crunch. And you know, we want to get that stuff out, and because the droughts here and the heat have been starting earlier and earlier, getting these things in, you know, in February and March, we don't need to wait for the leaves to open up, is a good opportunity to make good use of the spring planting season and have some more establishment. So anyway, just a quick recap. We'll be hosting 2 IMA donation days at our wild plant nursery. I think we just internally figured out when they will be, so we'll let you 2 know to share with folks. Those will be in person. You can just come, show up, grab whatever you want. We'll have herbaceous plants to donate to. We're not getting reimbursed for those, but we have more than enough stuff that can go out. Again, email Michael Ann, not me, Michael Ann. She's great. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
So I can go back to the quiz answer so you guys can see if you missed it. But just a shout out to Karen, who's one of the site leaders at Oakton Community Park. She was our Outstanding Volunteer of the Year award for 2024. She's Yeah, we can do questions now, and we'll just flip through the pictures of your work days that you guys have shared with us throughout last year as we answer questions. No, I can just.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through the questions really quickly that were posted online, and then we'll go through the questions here. So regarding, okay, here we go. So can herbicides, going back to the herbicide conversation, can herbicide be used on woody vines like ivy? Yes, the cut stump treatment with the buckthorn blaster can be used with vines. With vines, if you get a big vine, I don't believe it's the same as a woody plant, like a tree or shrub. You would want to apply the herbicide to the entire trunk or piece that you've left, you know.
Face.
Yeah, the face of that cut.
As well.
Yes. Go ahead, Deb.
I just wanted to know, are you going to provide the herbicide to us?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so in the training, we'll go into all the details, but each person will receive a buckthorn blaster with the 4 ounce, it's a 4 ounce bottle with a sponge tip on it and the cap, the PPE that you'll need, the protective equipment, gloves, and all the many other things I can't think of right now, but there's multiple things you'll be given, even like a little mini spill kit, and a bucket to take everything in. There will be replacements for it, like if you're already finished your 4 ounces, but you have to be sure you're logging your hours before you can get more.
And you said there's going to be a separate login for the herbicide application.
Is the
A
same,
separate data.
yeah, like a second survey that you'll fill out. Yeah.
Thank you.
So another question we had here is, can we pull cut shrubs out with tarps and leave a pile for the park employees to pick up, or do we have to cut them down to bag size?
The understanding we have with park ops is that they pick up bags, not loose debris. So we can ask each individual site man or park manager if they can pick up debris, but I think that's dependent on what kind of trucks they have and staffing they have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions for Maddie, and then I have a bamboo question too. So Maddie, I'm a fan of the metal cages, but oftentimes my seedlings don't understand the boundaries. And so while I still need them for deer protection, they're growing through. And it can't bend either the cage or the tree very well. So how do you deal with that?
We tend to make ours a little wider. So, we're talking about for an individual tree, a circumference of anywhere from 4 to 6 feet. And then we can supply more than one stake if you need to. So the funds are pretty open in terms of how we divide up the spending on whether it's plant reimbursements that we get or reimbursements for the fencing we get. So if you know that you're caging understory shrubs and you say, hey, give me extra stakes because I'm building these wide, we can absolutely do that.
The timing and location?
It is secretive as to location because we needed the last few people who are dealing with that location to sign off on everything. My understanding is that right now it's on Chris Harrington's desk at DPWES, who needs to sign our license agreement. It's just something I wasn't willing to publish in writing and say where we're going, but it's sort of an open secret, so I can say we're planning to be at 9801 Old Colchester Road in Lorton. That's across the street from the Noman Coal wastewater treatment plant. We needed final sign off from the Noman Coal people because that's part of their complex, though we're outside the fence and everything like that. So DPWS has already been working on extending purple pipe water that is recycled wastewater that we can use for irrigation and things like that. But once we get that signed, we'll do another big write-up and share more information. We already have site plans drawn up for how we're going to be using the space and things like that.
Does he have an approximate effective date?
Not yet. It's really going to depend on when that water construction gets finished. I can stick around a little bit to chat too about nursery expansions. Okay.
So my bamboo question, this is for not parkland. But are you offering anything on your website or somewhere else to individual homeowners who have just a bamboo problem on their own home site about how to tackle it? 'Cause
Yes.
I know I helped a friend cut down bamboo and I saw them sprinkle liberally this high concentration vinegar. And I turned my head at that point because I didn't know if that was a good idea or not, but where do people go to get some good information from experts like you, Satricia?
Yeah, we have a webpage up on, the county has a webpage on bamboo management, what we're doing, like what the county is doing, and then the park authority also has a webpage on what the park authority is doing, but also information on how to manage it. And there's links to other resources on where they have information on how to manage it. So cuts, how to cut it, how to apply herbicide properly, what kind of herbicide to apply onto what, that sort of thing.
Could you share that link when you get it?
Sure.
There's also like state agencies like the Virginia Tech Agricultural Exchange Program. Yeah, that we'll also have information to share as well. So our limits is, within our like realm of responsibility, we won't come to private property and consult on bamboo management, but we do provide educational materials. So.
Just wanted to follow up on your first question about plants going outside of cages. The cage is really there to protect the core of the plant. Branches break, things eat them. So if somebody's nibbling on the edge of the plant outside of a cage, I wouldn't get too upset about it. Because the cage is really there to make sure that it doesn't get destroyed.
That's a good point. I was more concerned just for the growth, because at some point I saw that the cage was gonna be restrictive of the growth.
That's a different issue. That means the cage was too small, but you're right.
So I did have one going back to the girdling and hack and squirt question. So Greg Sykes writes, I've seen hack and squirts being more effective at killing the tree than a full girdle. Girdling cuts the sap flow to the root, which prevents a full herbicide dose from hitting the roots. Hack and squirt has some cuts in the bark that then enables the herbicide applied in the wound to be more efficiently migrate to the trees, tree roots up and down. This method is especially effective on Bradford pear, tree of heaven, which resist girdling. So, and then he also puts a resource here in the link for it. So yeah, that is usually the way we do it as well. We'll do cuts where you sort of put it at an angle so that you create a lip where the herbicide can then sit and then be absorbed into the plant, and you leave a little bit of bark in between each cut. So an inch or two, if depending on the size of the tree. So 4 cuts or more than that.
But tools, the saws that we're authorized to use.
A saw will work too, and you apply the herbicide into them. Don't we have some hatchets? Little ones?
Yeah,
I think we have little mini hatchets. Yeah, we could, if that's a method that people want to use, we can do that.
Machetes.
Yes.
Getting out root ball.
Yeah. The hatchets will be okay. We're just making one.
Yes.
We do, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Is the current finance status so bleak that we shouldn't even think about trying to get the park to help with, I guess, more like general maintenance type thing?
So is your question regarding like picking up trash and stuff like that?
Or like there's wooden posts that were replaced to keep vehicle traffic out.
Oh, okay.
That have rotted out years ago, and now various it looks like contractors come through there with the mower instead of opening the actual gate. Or other vehicles come through.
I mean,
so it's a little thing that it's not a lot, but there's areas where there's out of my park, a big runoff location that constantly dumping silt in the gutter.
Yeah, so that we have park operations maintenance crews for each area, as you're probably aware. I would say go ahead and file the complaint with park maintenance at fairfaxcounty.gov. No, the situation is not so bleak where we wouldn't handle it, but that they can't handle things like that. The erosion issue sounds like maybe it's a bigger problem than a simple maintenance repair. Like it might need some to have like a mobile construction crew go out there and stabilize. But unless you make them aware of it, they're not going to probably just go out and do it just because they got their hands full. So go ahead and file the complaint, and that applies to like any general maintenance stuff. If you've got general maintenance stuff that you need in your park maintenance at fairfaxcounty.gov, or you can just do park mail at fairfaxcounty.gov too. That's fine as well.
My other comment related to that is the biggest detriment I see to fields in my area is whoever comes to pick up the trash.
Yeah.
Never fails. It doesn't matter what the weather, they have to drive all the way around. Like a big rate they make to get to the trash cans. And usually the trash cans are probably 20 pounds of dog food bags. So it's amazing the rut mark you see like now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that seems like something that would be pretty easy to resolve. What park are you in?
Lake Braddock.
Lake Braddock. Okay. Yeah, same. You could just put it in the same emails and say, "Hey, I'm concerned about rutting." That might take a little bit. It might be a simpler solution, but it might take longer to resolve because you're basically taking that complaint and, matriculating it to the person who's actually driving the vehicle, right? So it may require.
That might be on complaining per se.
Don't worry about it. I'd say, it's easy for me to say because we're not the ones doing the work, but if you got a complaint, we're here to serve you not only as a volunteer, but as a resident and park user. Go ahead and put it out there. They won't necessarily know it's an issue until you flag it.
Similar question about park ops.
Mhm.
Is there any effort to like have a coordinated strategy with them, which pertains to each plot of parkland that you are responsible for? Because my experience has been, well, you can call them and ask them to come and move a dead tree or whatever. They'll come out and assess, well, our procedures are just to leave that dead tree. And what happens is invasives grows over it and it makes your job more difficult. But if there were some coordinated more, well, we need you to work on this because this is an IMA area and prioritize removing some of this stuff, it would be helpful. And also I've seen sometimes where the Department of Transportation will plant invasive species. Is there any discussion with them about plant bottom mullet or whatever it is on the side of the road? Because we're trying to get rid of those things. And so who's looking at the bigger picture and saying, how do all these different groups within Fairfax County Park Authority work together? Because it would be, easier for us as volunteers to maintain that property if they were more responsive and more helpful.
Sure.
If this is a priority for you guys.
So there more communication between agencies and departments is always good, right? And more collaboration is always good. So we are always working with park ops to coordinate on just getting better about what seed mixes they're putting down, making sure their activities are lighter touch, but there can always be more. To your question, so we're that's something that I work with park ops on. We all really engage them variously on that topic. The question about deadfalls or cutting down trees and leaving them, that is a policy currently within Park Authority, is we're not removing woody debris or carbon from the systems if we're dropping trees. So yeah, the invasives can be a problem because you're creating a vertical matrix for them to climb over. I have been talking with them about that policy, particularly when it comes to fuel loading in forests and wildfire mitigation and risk and stuff. But the conditions in this area generally are not like what we see out west when it comes to low relative humidity, flashy fires, things like that. But I'm trying to encourage them in certain situations to mulch. However, the scale of I don't know if they dropped an ash tree in your park or if it was something else. The scale of the impacts of emerald ash borer and other forest pathogens are so broad that, first of all, mulching or removing trees would be, talking about funding, would be expensive. They wouldn't be able to take out as many hazard trees as they are currently. And also,
a tree had fallen, they came and chopped it up and they put the debris in the area that we were trying to clear of the invasive. So then we had to move all of the stumps and branches and these were big, it was hard work.
Yeah, I think measures like that we can work towards trying to improve it.
And Sarah Mayhew had a really nice comment where she said developing a personal relationship with the area manager has helped her over a lot of years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The area managers, they work hard and they're under the gun for a lot of responsibility that outscales their budget, to be clear, and their current staffing. And that hasn't changed. It's just we have a lot of parkland and they all care very deeply about like the condition of the parks that they work in. It's just a matter of forming that relationship, and making them aware of where you're working. I think unfortunately what you probably saw was forestry doing the work, and forestry does a lot of good work on parkland, but they're yet another subdivision of operations that is even smaller than the area managers. I think it's a team of 2 or 3, and they're working over 25,000 acres. So it can be harder to make those connections, but sorry that happens, and that's something we try to avoid. But yeah, we are dropping trees currently and leaving, and that's the current policy.
Right, I got lucky with the tree, or I happened to see someone out there that I didn't recognize. Whenever we're talking to him, it was the arborist.
Oh yeah, Patrick.
And he was great to talk to, lots of knowledge, and he was majestic. Please not just decimate this whole area with this one tree, because that's what I spent 8 years trying to clean up. Yeah, it did that. Sorry, to get out. A bucket truck. Now, you can't catch him during the works, but you catch the right person at the right time. He was able to give better direction of what not to do.
I just want to get to a couple questions here before, sorry. Going back to bamboo, if the bamboo is encroaching from private property onto FCPA land, are we reporting it and how are you dealing with these situations?
It's a chicken or the egg, right? So did it start on parkland or did it start on the private property? And our approach right now has been basically it doesn't matter. So we're not pointing fingers at private property owners and saying it's your bamboo, you have to deal with it. If the complaint is filed against Park Authority, then we're going after it as if it was from our property, which we know it probably wasn't. Go ahead.
So the question is, if it's encroaching onto FCPA and we see it, are we then reporting it to?
I
haven't, but I would like to.
We're responding currently to complaints,
Yeah,
and not starting our own complaints.
And then just to let you know something really cool. Yes.
As an individual.
Are you the homeowner? That's the
Property owner.
Okay, well.
Yes, you can.
So one really neat thing, and this is a question that came up, is that are we, it would be really cool if we could get the zoo involved. And the zoo has reached out to us to harvest some of the bamboo. So we have a site in Alexandria, where we just met this week to confirm how they're going to move forward in it. And basically they'll be farming this patch of bamboo. So we don't know how long we'll be able to keep supporting this effort, but we want to partner with the zoo. They're not just pandas eat bamboo, but the apes and giraffes and other animals elephants enjoy bamboo as well. So that's kind of a neat little piece. And I would love to find an industry in this area that would take the bamboo for us, because there's so much of it coming out.
This is exactly what I want to ask about. Hey, I'm Sam. I'm surrounded by I recently got honey from a watershed in New York. They were making honey from American bamboo. It was amazing honey. So I kind of wanted to ask about that, but I also wanted to ask if anybody knows about ways to eat wisteria. Because that would be really nice. But as a serious question, now that I have this invasive honey, it was wonderful.
Is the river cane? Is that American? I'm not familiar with that common species. Or anyone else? Do you know it?
Pardon me?
The American bamboo are you talking about river cane? That's my question.
I don't know if this is.
It's not. No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna ask.
I think it's not literally American or native. I think that was like a misnomer.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's like growing in America. Is that what
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, bamboo only flowers like every 60 to 100 years.
Right.
So.
And in theory, when it flowers, it then dies.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting years for all of our bamboo to flower and die.
Yeah.
But
Hasn't happened yet.
hasn't happened yet.
There are some apiaries, beehives and stuff on parkland that are in partnership with like George Mason, and there have been in the past like a few that have been set up under like a MOU. We Parkland does not do like commercial harvesting or like sale of like park resources, and honeybees are an introduced species, so there's some balancing there as far as that conversation is concerned too. So but just like Patricia said, we've got our ears to the ground and we're keeping our eyes open for opportunities to utilize this bamboo on parkland in some way that can provide additional benefit either to the public or to the parks themselves. The zoo is one option that we're pursuing. We've got, we're open to ideas. I guess I'll put it that way. We probably won't be doing things like developing a commercial bamboo harvesting enterprise. We have to, be mindful of the fact that these are public resources, and then, harvesting them for private use or sale. There's some things we have to negotiate on that front. But yeah, we hate to harvest like all this, coarse woody debris, this biomass, and then just throw it in the trash if there's, a good beneficial use for it. So yeah, we'll take any ideas y'all have.
One quick question to Maddie. Have you worked at all with using bamboo as post material?
For like tree cages?
Yeah, for cage.
No, we've never tried.
That may be something we could experiment with, because the challenge is it grades over time, but the bigger bamboo might last for 3 or 4 years, then that might be an approach.
Bev, you had a question?
Yes. Something yard waste over, which is sort of spaces. I also have some that have,
Yeah.
landscaping companies dumping.
Ooh, okay.
So who's the best person to call? I mean,
It's another park operations. And that is a widespread issue on parklands. Because we have, I think it was like 38,000 miles of linear border. I could be wrong about that, of neighbors, because we have 25,000 acres, but then I want to say it's something way higher than you'd expect. So all those borders are vulnerable to people just, see forest, they dump their lawn clippings or whatever, and they may not necessarily know that it could be causing a problem, but that's a park operations issue. That's an encroachment or dumping issue. And park operations, if they can identify who the person who's doing it is, will send a letter basically saying you're encroaching on parkland or you're illegally dumping on parklands. It would be the same. It would be park maintenance at fairfaxcounty.gov, and they'll disseminate that email to the correct park operations office who will yeah, it would be them, that office that would respond. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, okay, to make a little announcement?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I'm Margaret Fisher and.
Oh, do you want to come so they can hear you better?
Oh, sure. Thanks. So you all know about Blue Ridge Prism and all their wonderful educational stuff. And last year we heard from the National Capital Area Prism, which does early detection and rapid response. Well, a bunch of us volunteers are starting a Fairfax Prism. And we need your help in a big way. So we're really at the beginning stage, but the idea is that we really want to look at the whole county, parks for sure to be supportive of the parks, but also the VDOT rights of way and commercial property and residential, HOAs, et cetera. And so this is like a massive thing we want to get going. If anyone is interested in being in on the ground floor on the planning of that, please come and let me know. But regardless, we're going to need everybody's help for a couple things at least. One would be to do surveys of areas, and another is to do site visits to help educate landowners. So I'd be really interested in anyone who wants to talk about this. I can talk to you. So. Thank you. Beth, you had a question about that?
oh, yeah. So would that include doing the floor? We keep talking about that stuff, but everybody goes, we want the good stuff.
You know, actually, that's one thing I've been thinking of, and I was gonna talk to the BMPS board about that as a separate thing. It's like, why don't we document, or try and find those areas before the bulldozers come? So we're not too late, we already know that they're there.
Point of order, the park authority has a naturalist, Nelson DeBarros. If you haven't met him or heard him, get a chance. He's very good. And they do a highly detailed documentation of the flora of the park authority land. Some of that is confidential because of sensitive areas, but if you have a site, he might be able to help you get a quick analysis of the flora from your park, not necessarily your on site, but the park as a whole. I'm speaking for him, so
Yeah.
Nelson, don't get mad at me, but
Yeah, I thanks for bringing that up. Nelson is our botanist for the Natural Resources Branch, and just like Alan was saying, he's doing regional inventories of not only plants but natural communities. He's currently focusing on parks that are like resource-based parks, so covering as much ground as he can and working in the parks with the highest likelihood of rare species or communities. But I think this is a good opportunity to bring up the FY26 bond, since you brought up Nelson. We're currently working in those areas to develop our regional natural resource management plans, but in the forecast here is the FY 2026 park bond, which we've been asked to put forward projects and ideas that, for needs from natural resources, but also for development, anything related to park authority. That's something that's voted on and approved by the residents. And as part of that bond, I've put forward a project for Nelson to support with where once he's done with these high priority areas, these big resource-based parks, he's going to do another sweep, or we intend for him to do another sweep of the other parks, basically making sure that we have natural community mapping and veg inventory of all parklands. So that project has just been proposed. I don't even want to say it's in its infancy, because the soonest would start in 26, would have to be approved by my leadership as well as voted on by the residents of the county. But that would be something that I think would be a great target for Nelson, would be, so, working directly with IMA site leaders as he makes his way through a given area, not only to document the rare plants, but also to provide an updated number for our invasive management. The relative invasiveness, the NNIAP protocol that we have. So he can tell you how things have changed over the last 5 or 10 years, or if it hasn't been mapped at all, just give a new baseline for the conditions of that site. So keep your ears to the ground for the 2026 bond. You'll probably be seeing me again, sort of advertising for that along with other members of the Park Authority. So I can't really answer too many specific questions about that now, because we're still finalizing internally what Park Authority's priorities are for that bond. But there'll be opportunities to speak with us more formally on that process as we go around for all the supervisor districts to talk to either friends groups or community groups on that front. So more to come there, but that's a ways off. But Nelson will be, he's got a major role in that project list. So yeah.
Good question. Is the bond on the ballot, or is that a board of supervisors?
I think it's on the ballot. I mean, you all would vote on it specifically. The board of supervisors would obviously have to give it a thumbs up, but then you all would be voting for it.
Who would it help for us and others to communicate to our board of supervisors to support opinions?
Yeah, it definitely would help. I would wait until we have a formal package forward, because right now, if you were to go to your BOS member and say, we support this, Park Authority doesn't even have a package together yet. So then BOS would be talking to Park Authority like, what the heck? What are we supporting? They're saying you're supporting something, you haven't even brought a package forward yet. So I would pump the brakes on that advocacy effort. But certainly if it's something you support, you're always welcome to talk to your BOS members.
Are you going to in the bond specific invasive treatment other than for the bamboo?
The most specific that we would get would be heavy lift restoration projects through our Helping Our Land Heal program. The IMA program and Patricia's bamboo efforts are funded through different avenues. So they have different funding sources. So it wouldn't be a bond project.
But other treatment of other invasives, are you including that in the bond or not?
No. Mm-hmm. So the invasive management arm of our program gets funding through the EIP program, as well as directly from the Board of Supervisors for the bamboo effort. The work that we do as part of those bond projects does remove invasive plants, but they're called capital projects. So they're generally over $100,000. So they're discrete restorations that we where the work is really needed and is probably getting above just foliar treatment or volunteer support. We need to get equipment in there to do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, take one more, and then if you guys have any more questions, you can email them to us, or we have the room until 1. So if you want to stay as we clean up, you're welcome to mingle and ask us some more questions, but we'll be wrapping up the presentation part in a few minutes. Yeah. Just hand pulling it before it goes to seed, before you see the berries. Just hand pull it.
So so could we start on it now, in the winter, the vines that were already kind of seeded?
Yeah, it's an annual, so that's probably just dead material, but getting it out of the way will make it easier to get the new growth and see whatever else is under there. Yep. Okay, I think that is it for this year's annual appreciation event. Thank you so much for everyone that came and tuned in. We've been recording the whole presentation, so we'll share that through the IMA YouTube channel shortly and send you guys all the link for the presentation, the meeting times for the herbicide training, the in-person trainings, and any other links that we promised to share with you today. Okay, feel free to take any snacks. Thank you.
Oh yeah, before we.